Okay, so it's time for pack a lunch, right? I say pack a lunch because we went the distance, right? It's not saying it was a bad fight or anything like that, but we went the full 15, or it could be 25, depending on, but this is all 15, right? So the first fight on the card, right? It was Charles Johnson against Ramazan Temirov. And this was a flyweight clash. Now, I had picked Johnson, right? I thought his length, his abilities to take the fight down and all of that would, I think, negate everything Temirov had. I was wrong. Temirov was really fucking sharp. Oh my days. He was landing heavy shots. And he was fast. I think he was faster than Johnson. Now Johnson, he was landing a nice kick up the middle, right? A nice kind of a teat, not quite a teat, but he was landing that. It was good. But Temirov just had the pressure, right? He seemed to have more pressure and he was throwing more. I think after the first round, Johnson's corner talked to him, right? And he did kind of up the game. And I do believe the thought might have been Temirov would wear out, right, as the fight went on. And he didn't. Well, he didn't to the extent maybe that people thought, right, that Johnson's corner thought he might do. Now, he did definitely slow down, and Johnson definitely came on in the third, but it wasn't enough. And, it wasn't enough, and I think he needed to throw even more than what he was doing. There was a point where he's trying to take it down, and it's just like, unless you are just going to try and take a limb, the best thing you can do, because he was landing some good shots to the midsection, but it's just like, just open up on the midsection, right? But so he wasn't able to do it, and Temirov comes away with a very solid win. Very solid win. It was 29-28 across the board. All right, next up, we had Andrea Lee against JJ Aldrich, women's flyweight division. And, this fight right here, the thing with it, Andrea Lee needed a win. She was on I think it was a 5-fight losing streak. And, it's not one of those ones where she looked terrible. She was getting blown out the water every fight. There were some close fights, right? Even the last one against De La Rocha. I thought she might have won that fight, right? But, you know what I mean? A loss is a loss, even if it was close, even if it was like suspect, you still lost. So she needed a win. And Aldrich, she'd been away for a minute, right? Injuries and all of that kind of jazz. So it's like, how would she come back? Because when she's on, she can look really good. And people, Aldrich looked really fucking good. You know what I mean? She came with the pressure. She was very sharp, right? The fight started off kind of tentative. They were both, sussing each other out, landing from distance. But then Aldrich, she started to come with the pressure. I think she kind of knocked Lee down a couple of times. Now, it was those ones where I think maybe Lee's off balance slightly when she got hit, but she still went down a couple of times. You know what I mean? So Aldrich was landing the better shots. She was hitting to the body. She was mixing it up really well. She even got, I think it was one takedown. But Aldrich, this was one of her best performances. She looked really, really good. So I think what she needs is to keep that momentum going, right? Keep that momentum going. And who knows? Who knows what she might be able to put together, right? We've definitely seen people, as they've gone on in their career, the confidence, right? The fight IQ, everything comes together. And they're challenging for I mean, look, Anthony Johnson started off like not the best of records, ended up having a title fight. It can happen, right? It can happen. So we will see where Aldrich goes from here. And then we have got a featherweight clash. It was Danny Silva against Lucas Almeida, right? Again, in the prelims. Now, this one, he'd gone at a catch weight because Almeida had missed weight. It went to a split decision, right? 29-28, 28-29, and 29-28. It was not a bad fight, right? It was back and forth. Silva was coming with a lot of pressure. And I think the big thing, right? The big thing with this one, combinations, right? Combinations. Almeida was throwing single shots, while Silva was throwing a lot of combinations, mixing up, going to the body, going to the head, right? And I think that paid off really well. Now, Almeida, after the first round, right, he came out second round and he started to put the pressure on a bit more, you know, and he was doing really well when he was coming forward. You know, he did land a good knee going backwards. I think it was at the end of the first round, right? But, you know what I mean? When Almeida was putting pressure on, he was doing well. He was landing some good leg kicks, right? Some good leg kicks that did seem to compromise Silva slightly, right? Did seem to compromise Silva slightly. And Almeida was coming on strong in the third, but he wasn't throwing at the same volume as Silva, right? And so it was Silva's combination. Silva seemed to hurt Almeida a couple of times. You know, it was a split decision, but I kind of think Silva did win. It was a fair decision, giving the fight to Silva. It was a good scrap. Good scrap. I mean, both probably will take a lot from that. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where they go from here. Now, there were more fights that went the distance, but that is it for Pack a Lunch.